let's hop into some new cards. First things first. We have a card that we have already seen the artwork of, which is called Spell Card colon Monster Reborn. I believe this thing is called a colon. Native English speaker, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's called colon. Spell Card colon Monster Reborn. And it looks like this. And it's a quick play spell. And it's actually not that bad. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. Target a monster in either graveyard, special summon it to your field, but it cannot attack or activate its effects this turn. I think this card is somewhat interesting and better than I thought, because when I saw the artwork, I was kind of expecting it to be like, you know, anime support, whatever. And usually that stuff doesn't turn out too well, right? Because I mean, I'm remembering, for example, one card that came into my mind right now was the card called Monster Reborn, which was it's not a trash card, but it's also not really a good card. I think this card is interesting because it's a new take on a revival spell that, of course, if you revive your own monster with this card, it's worse than the card Monster Reborn, which is legal. You know, the Monster Reborn is at 1, right? Even the fact that I have to ask this shows you how little Monster Reborn is seeing play. Some people play Monster Reborn, but it's not really seeing play much, right? It exists, but it's not really there. Like, it's not really that relevant. So just a revival effect on a singular card isn't super powerful. The fact that they made this thing a quick play spell and they made it able to target your opponent's monsters in their graveyard gives it some added utility, though. Like the fact that you can just, your opponent is trying to do something with stuff in their graveyard, you just reborn it, right? Like, you can think of plenty of situations where it could come up, like Fire King Garunix, Fire King, they destroy Fire King Barong in their turn, and in your draw phase you just reborn it to your field, which is like, that's pretty good because you steal they don't get the search and you get a free body on the board. That's not bad. You take Ponix before they add it back to their hand. You could have stolen a tier name in Tearlament format. You can do any kinds of graveyard disruption with this kind of card, plus you get a body out of it. I do like the fact that they gave it cannot attack and not activate its effects, because I think that sort of thing is good. One note is that cannot activate its effects this turn is not as bad of a restriction as like negate its effects, for example, right? Like, because you can steal something, like if you can steal something like a Baron with this on your turn and then you pass, it's going to be live on your opponent's turn. Like, it's only for this turn that you can't use it, so that's interesting. You can dodge Called by the Grave, all that kind of stuff. It's got a lot of utility to it. I think I could see this card seeing play. I mean, you guys remember when we played what was the card called that had this lost art, the quick play spell? Foolish is it Foolish Return? It's Foolish Return, right? The quick play spell. We played that card for a while during, what was it, Branded format? It was like when Branded was a thing, you would side it for Branded, because you can just, you know, interrupt stuff like Branded in red, all that kind of stuff. I think messing with your opponent's graveyard on a quick play spell is a powerful thing, right? It's a powerful ability to be able to mess with your opponent's graveyard. And the fact that it also is able to be used in your own turn, right? Like if you need an extender on your first turn, you know, you can just use it. It's fine, you know. If I need an extra link material, if I want to revive a tuner, anything like that, I think this is a good card. I don't think it's powerful enough to go like, oh yeah, this is the next main deck staple. But for a quick play spell with decent utility, I could see this seeing play in the right format. Probably not as a main deck card. I don't think it's good enough as a main deck card unless the format is very centered towards one deck that's really graveyard heavy. But like, for example, I can see this card being good in Fire King format in the OCG right now. Like if it comes out in the OCG right now, people might start messing with it. But I like this design. It's one of those cards that, once again, we've had a couple of these recently. We've had a couple of these recently, and I like it. Why not just run OG Reborn? Because it being a quick, yeah, being able to mess with your opponent's graveyard as a quick effect is much better. Like I can't quick effect. I can't steal my opponent's Barong in the draw phase with regular Monster Reborn. I can't, if they have a Garunix in the graveyard and they activate it, I can't reborn that with the spell card. Like a quick play over a normal spell is a massive deal. Like it's a massive deal, I think. Yeah, this card's cool. Way better than I expected for sure. And it's going to be interesting to see if this actually finds its way into the meta, because it's one of those cards that's like on the verge of actually meta playable, right? But very nice design. I like it. I think it's very, very nice. And now for stuff that I haven't read yet, there's an entirely new archetype called it's called Raika in the OCG. We don't know what it's going to be called for us yet. But it is an archetype. That's how I figured out that much. But it's like a tri-brigade sort of style archetype, because it consists of 3 types. I believe it's plants, reptiles, and insects is like the deal with this archetype. They all, it's kind of like these 3 archetypes combined. I have not read the effects yet, so let's hop right in. I don't know how many cards they got even. I've only seen people on Twitter really like, you know, say they like the artwork and everything, like it's a cool archetype. Let's see. We have, first off, a little Raica plant, which is it's a cool looking plant. We have a level 1 here. You can only special summon with the first effect of this card's name once per turn. You can only use the second effect once per turn. You can special summon this card by sending an insect, plant, or reptile from your hand to the graveyard. Okay, there we go. The 3 types indeed are insect, plant, and reptile. If this card is normal or special, you can add up to 2 of your Raica cards with different names that are banished and or in your deck to your hand except itself. Then banish a Raica card from your hand. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except the 3 types. Okay, so that's very powerful. That is something a lot of decks would love to have. Special summon from hand by discarding one of the monsters with the type, then adds 2 cards from banished or deck to hand, and then has to banish a Raica card from hand. I wonder if they're gonna give Raica, if they gave Raica a card that triggers when it's banished. That shit's scary, right? Like if I can just summon this, add 2 cards, one of them being a card with a banish effect, that would be scary, but we have to check the other cards for that. One thing that's worth noting is that this card actually doesn't go plus unless you discard good cards for it, right? Like if you don't discard an insect, plant, or reptile with a graveyard effect for this, this card actually does not go plus, because you, let's say you start with, you have this card and 1 other card in your hand, so you're at a total of 2 cards. You discard the other card in your hand to summon this, so you go down to 1 card total. You search 2 and then banish 1, so you still only have, you have 1 card on the field, 1 card in hand, but obviously the search potential there is huge. We have Raika no Yahazu Kamikiri, a level 3 insect. You can only special summon with the first effect of this card's name once per turn. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. You can special summon this card from your hand by placing one of your banished insect, plant, or reptiles on the bottom of the deck. If this card is sent to the graveyard as material for the link summon of a Raika monster, you can target a level 4 or lower insect, plant, or reptile except itself and special summon it. Okay. Immediate combo that I'm seeing is we special summon this, we add 2 Raika cards including this, we banish the other Raika card. That means we can now special summon this thing by putting the banished thing back to the bottom, and then we can revive whatever we discarded for this thing, and then we have 3 bodies on the board off of just this one. Okay. And then here we have a reptile. Okay, so first, I'm okay. It starts with extra deck monsters down here. So first wave, I suppose we only get one plant, one insect, and one reptile. That's not that many. We have Raika no Yoroi Tokage, which is a level 4 dark reptile. You can only special summon with the first effect of this card's name once per turn. You can only use the second one. Okay, they all have similar kind of structure to it. Special summon this card by banishing insect, plant, or reptile from the grave. Okay, so this one discards, this one places back from banished, and this one banishes from the graveyard. You can discard an insect, plant, or reptile, target a face-up monster your opponent controls, return it to the hand. Okay, since this is not a quick effect, I think this one is by far the weakest one so far. It's good going second, the ability to have that, but discard one to bounce a card is kind of mediocre, I would say, especially on something that does nothing going first except special summon itself from hand. But maybe that's enough. But I don't think this one is particularly strong compared to the others. Okay, and it seems to be a link focused deck because nothing here was a tuner, I don't think. Nothing here was a tuner. And yeah. 2 monsters, including an insect, plant, or reptile. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. Also, you can't special summon monsters the turn you activate them, except insect, plant, and reptiles. You can target a Raika monster in your grave, special summon it in defense. Okay, so we're link climbing again. That's, I mean, I guess if they're gonna put link climbing on link 2s, at least it's on something that locks you into insect, plant, and reptile for the entire turn. But, you know. If this card is in your grave, you can target an insect, plant, or reptile, place it on the bottom if you do special summon this card. Okay, that's kind of scary because it just gives the deck a lot of link climbing. It doesn't really, this is exactly what it's here for. It does nothing else, right? It's just link climbing the card, you know? But it's that's strong, you know? Of course, it requires you to have strong links to climb into, so it depends on other stuff, but we'll see. We have Raika no Okami Nushi, which is a link 3. So we had a link 2 plant, we get a link 3 insect, which is 2+ monsters, including an insect, plant, or reptile. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. Banish 2 insect, plant, and or reptiles from your grave. Add a Raika trap from your deck to your hand. Okay. If this card's in your grave, target an insect, plant, or reptile, place it on the bottom, and if you do, special summon this card. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except insect, plant, reptile. Okay, this is the same secondary effect on the link monster. Yeah. The exact same. Raika no Kuzarigami. 2+ monsters. This is the link 5. Okay, so we get... Okay, no, we get more than 3 link monsters. We have a link 4 reptile, which is the same summoning condition. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. If your opponent activates a monster effect, you can make both players unable to activate monster effects in the hand for the rest of this turn. If your opponent activates a monster effect, you can make both players unable to activate monster effects in the hand for the rest of this turn. This is a very weird effect. This is a very weird effect because basically, for example, going first, this is like after your opponent uses this first hand trap, they can't use any more, but it doesn't stop the first hand trap. It's like if your opponent ashes something after you already have this, you can lock them out of doing nib later. But this is a link 4. At the time where you have a freaking link 4 on the board, you can already get nibbed in response to this shit. Right? Like they probably use their imperm, their veilers, their ashes, whatever. Oh, it's even monster effect, doesn't even apply for imperm, but like any hand trap, they would have already used it. The same is true with Maxi. Like, how are you saying this is anti-Maxi? This is a link 4. By the time your opponent has Maxied, I guess it can help. Okay, one thing it can help with that doesn't apply to us in the TCG, but it could apply in the OCG, is that if you take the Maxi challenge to OTK, maybe you can be like, okay, I can resolve this at some point, and then it doesn't matter what my opponent draws now. I can just push through the maxi and try to kill them, because whatever hand traps they draw, they can't use it. Like, if you don't have Nib at this point, you know. But you are right, the way this triggers is very weird, because it can only respond to an opponent's monster effect. So if my opponent max sees me and I start playing with the insects and my opponent knows I have this card, I can just not use any monster effects until I draw Nib, and then I just nib them, and then it doesn't matter. So I don't know, this card's weird. And the second effect is the same as on all the others, but this effect is very, very weird. Not in a bad design way. I think it's a fine. I think the idea of the design here is interesting. I just don't think it turned out very good. Putting this kind of thing on a Link 4 just doesn't make that much sense. It would have made more sense on like a Link 2. It kind of cooks some decks. I mean, yeah, if you make it going first as an end board piece, because I was just looking at it from a way like playing through hand traps. Is there any deck out there that this really cooks when you make it going first? I suppose Vanquish Soul can't do shit. Like, they go normal summon Raisin, you go effect. No hand effects for the rest of the turn. So you can't bring out Jiaolong. You can't... Like, you can chain Borger to bounce the Raisin at that moment, but later on you can't anymore. You know? I think that is the better way to look at it, actually. Dangers, whatever, you know? Those kind of... There might be some strategies that just randomly fold to this card when you make it on... When you pass on it. Yeah. Bestials. Yeah. Okay, I see it. I can see it from this point onwards. Yeah. Yeah, if they go normal summon Ponix and then they want to go Fire King Island to search Garunix, they can't trigger Garunix in hand. They can't use Kirin in hand either. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, that's fair. That's but in that sense, I don't like the design so much anymore, because in that sense, we've already figured out you can't use it on your own turn to like protect you from hand traps, because that's not working. But if you can only use it on your opponent's turn, it's just a floodgate, right? Like, what we've now figured out is how to use this card effectively, which is turning it into a floodgate against certain decks that really rely on this kind of stuff, which is kind of wonky. But okay. The thing about this is that this is not something completely exclusive to the Raika deck, because you could make this in a different deck if you wanted to. If it was really good into a specific matchup, I could make this with, like, you know, whatever plant, insect, or reptile you can access from the extra deck. I'm sure there's like a generic rank 2 reptile or something like that, or link 2 rather, or something, you know. Raica? I don't think Raica can make this because it's a reptile. Rep Predocus to change type. You should be able to access it with Promethean Princess. It is fire, but Promethean Princess isn't one of those three, surely. Don't tell me Promethean Princess is a freaking reptile. There's no way it is. Fiend, yeah. Okay, let's move on. Raika no Yugioh, which is a Link 5. Okay, it makes sense. I mean, it's a Link climbing archetype, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it does make sense that they give them Link 2, 3, 4, 5. We have, you can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. If a monster is special summoned from your opponent's deck and or extra deck, you can destroy 2 monsters on the field. Okay. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target an insect, plant, or reptile you control, place it on the bottom of the deck, and if you do special summon this card... All right. That is... I mean, 1 SP just cooks this thing, right? I don't think it's that good of an end board piece. I don't think it's that good for an end board piece. Like, popping 2 monsters is a powerful effect, but on a Link 5, well, you get the Link 5 relatively easily, but like, your opponent has to trigger it, first, and then you can pop 2 monsters, and then your opponent probably just keeps playing. I don't know. I don't think it's... I mean, you take it, right? If it's easy to summon, you take it, you use it, it's fine. It's not a bad card. But I don't think, from what I've seen here, what we can end on, even if we could end on, like, I don't know, this plus this, it wouldn't be the end of the world for most decks, which I don't even know if you can. Anyways, we have a continuous spell card. Raika Ryuran Kuruisaki. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. All insect, plant, and reptiles on the field gain 300 attack and defense. Also, all other monsters lose 300 attack and defense. You can activate one of these effects. Add a Raika from your deck to your hand, then discard 1 card. Okay, good. Special summon one of your Raika monsters that's banished or in your hand or your grave in defense position. Okay, this is kind of like a... This is like a Kashtira Birth that also adds, but you can't do both in the same turn. But that's still really good. This is still really, really good. That level 4 is now 2600 defense. What the fuck? That's not what I'm worried about. Out of all things, that is not something to be worried about. The fact that this makes the level 4 monster now 2600 defense. That's okay, probably. That's okay. Nah, this card's obviously really good, but a card like this one always very much depends on is the rest of the archetype good enough? Because a Rhoda or like a Searcher only makes the deck more consistent. So if the deck is not already powerful, then okay. We'll have to check out what you can do with these. And here's the trap card, the only one, because this is the last card. We have Raika Dairin Kubikarimai. Trap, normal trap. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. Target cards your opponent controls up to the number of insect, plant, and reptile link monsters you control with different types. Destroy them. Okay, that's a good effect for a searchable trap. That's kind of like Sword Soul Blackout, but better. Because you don't have to destroy your own thing. And you just get to pop multiple things. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty good trap. If a face-up insect, plant, and or reptile monsters you control is destroyed by battle or card effect while this card is in your grave, except the turn it was sent there, you can banish this card, then target a monster your opponent controls, destroy it. Okay, that's a good trap. I like that. You probably wouldn't play more than one because you can search it with the link earlier, but you know, kind of like a Blackout, Icarus Attack kind of vibe, Salamangreat Rage kind of effect, and then a good graveyard effect later on as well. I dig it. That's fine. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now, the one thing that I can think of is if you open with this little dude, right? Let's think this through for a second. You open with this dude, you discard another insect, plant, or reptile. Let's not think about what that is yet. You search this thing and this thing, just as an example, and you banish this from your hand. And then you can use this in your hand by placing the banished one back to the bottom of the deck. So you have, at this point, you have this dude on the board and this dude on the board, which you can now link both off into the link 2, which triggers this thing to target a level 4 or lower insect, plant, or reptile. So you have to link 2, and I guess, let's say you revive this, right? And then you get this, which is target a Raika in your grave, special summon it in defense. So you bring back this, which means you have this and the 2 other bodies on the board. So you have link material worth 4. So you make the link 3, which means you keep one of them on the board, which allows you to bring this back by targeting the other monster. So you have both of the links on the board. Now you can, maybe you can search the trap. I don't know if you have enough stuff in the graveyard to do so. So you search the trap card, and then you can link climb into either the link 4 or the link 5, right? You can't do both at this point. So you end on off of just this one card, even without thinking at the combos much. This level 1 ends up with the Link 5 plus the trap card. And you haven't normal summoned. Which isn't terrible at the same time. It's... I don't know, but this is the only good draw though, right? The only good monster to start with is this dude. What if I start with this or this? They don't do anything, right? And to search it, well, yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough. But still, like, it seems like a lot of it is engine requirement, and only this one is actually good so far, right? I think this is, yeah, it does strike me as something you want to pair with other stuff, because it specifically doesn't mention, it doesn't lock you into Raikas or anything like that, right? It's just, it restricts you to insect, plant, and reptile, which aren't the most popular types in terms of how many cards they have, but still, you can combine this with pretty much anything you want, because they also don't need the normal summon, right? They don't need normal summons, and they don't restrict you from anything outside of these 3 types, right? So you could be pairing it up with anything from within those types, right? You can, and it can even be a normal summon heavy, like, you know, you can play, like, I don't know, maybe you can work something out with Naturias, because that's mostly insects and plants. You can, like, I don't know, another thing that it would be an easy normal summon plus link material would be something like Iperia, you know, just normal summon, draw a card, link it off. There's probably some good plans with some good graveyard effects, like Spore. Maybe you can lean into some Synchros. Freaking Diabolantis, maybe, you know, I don't know. Resonance Insect. There's some stuff you can pair up with this for sure, yeah. So it's hard to tell before people get cooking with this. Some of these cards are pretty good. Some of these cards are pretty good, I think. Xeon, thank you for the 18 months. Appreciate that. So yeah. All right. Let's just wait. Let's just wait and see what happens to this archetype before we think too much about it, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't love the design on these, because it's just another link spammy thing in my mind. I don't love that, but I suppose it's okay. It doesn't seem like the deck itself has ways to play around. Like, this seems to be like a huge choke point for the deck, right? It seems like this is a huge choke point, and a Nib also, it doesn't have a way to play around Nib and anything. Okay, I'll read Serpentine Princess, dude. It seems like the only thing that makes like 1,000 people happy right now is if I read Serpentine Princess. Yeah, I'm reading it. Calm down. For the love of God, calm down. If this face-up card is returned from the field to your deck, select and special summon 1 level 3 or lower monster from your deck to your side of the field, then shuffle your deck. Okay. So you can, yes, you can summon Serpentine Princess and then put it to the bottom of the deck with one of the link monsters. And then you can special a level 3 or lower monster from your deck to your side of the field. Okay. Domberg, thank you for the 7 months. Appreciate that. Yeah, okay. I have read Serpentine Princess. Noted. Thank you. Thank you for telling me approximately 200 times to read that card. Appreciate that. It'll come in very handy for my next card guesser run, I think. When this comes up, I probably would have not known the artwork, but now I do. So that's gonna come in handy. Thank you.